Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of KISS.
Keep it simple, sister.
Absolutely. So the flip side is where we take something that I try not to use the word negative because all of life is really contrast. It's how you perceive it. So it's something that we perceive to be unpleasant or whatever. And then it's how we, on the flip side of it, how we turn our perspective around and we're able to embrace it or see the silver lining, however you want to look at it. So Diana, this will explain why Diana's in a different location.
Okay. So we said last time that Samantha is in Bluffton, South Carolina, and I'm normally in Manchester, Pennsylvania, but I'm coming to you from West Palm Beach, Florida, from my daughter's office and in her house. And I ended up down here because she was having a little bit of contrast, and I came down to help with the contrast, and ended up having to stay longer than I had anticipated. So that's my contrast of this week. My husband had a stroke not too long ago, a minor stroke, and so he is at home with his sister helping with his physical therapy and that kind of thing. And so my daughter Annie is the one that lives in West Palm Beach, and she said to him on the phone, "I'm so sorry to take away the love of your life for this long." And his response was, "You're both the loves of my life," which was the sweetest thing ever. I know. And he doesn't say sweet stuff like that sometimes. So that was the flip side of that, because I was very worried, when I made the decision to stay here longer, it was going to affect our recording schedule. And so we weren't sure how we were going to make that happen, but it's working, and this is the best I can do in this situation. And I think that it's wonderful and fabulous. And I'm just glad that I can be here for her and also still do our KISS podcast.
Yay. I love this.
Me too.
So it worked out.
Yes.
Yes.
Everything's always working out for me.
Always working out. And for me
and
too.
You. And everyone.
I'm going to own some of that too.
Please do.
Okay. So my flip side, okay. I got one. I got a very interesting one. So we're recording this in the month of, what is it? July, the end of July.
End of July.
And there's a lot of, okay, you guys, I'm the woo spiritual one. And so I'm going to be from time to time bringing in weird concepts, and it's just going to happen. So just go with the flow. And if something doesn't make sense, just ask me in the comments and I will elaborate. But so there's been this thing going on, like people are being more careful with money. They feel something's afoot. They don't know what it is. They don't like what's happening in the government, in the world, in how divisive we are. And so there's a lot going on. And so everyone's being a bit more cautious. Well, when that happens, those of us who are self-employed, we start feeling it a little bit more because things kind of dry up a little bit and money's not flowing as easily. So we're not making, an income. And I'm looking at going, okay, how do I explain this so this is going to make sense? Because it's kind of a really cool concept. So a lot of us in this profession, in the metaphysical, spiritual profession, we have friends who channel, and we've been asking them, hey, can you ask the powers that be or whatever, what the heck's going on? Why don't we have more money? And this is something everybody asks, they're just, why can't I have money sitting in my bank account? Why can't I have more? And the response always comes back, you have abundance. It's all around you. It's everything is abundance. You're too focused on money, which money is just the tool. It's one aspect. But if you look around you, you have a roof over your head, you have, food on the table, whatever it is, but you have abundance. So we've been getting in this group that I'm involved in, we've been getting a little bit antsier with it because we're going, among us and our other cohorts, we noticed that, okay, but it'd be nice to have money to pay the bills. Well, we got fussed at again. And they explained that we just need to sit tight. Not sit tight, relax. That this is a time of exploration, that, that we will still be cared for. We will still have the abundance coming in, that we just need to shift our perspective of what is actually happening, what's being given to us. So what's super interesting is that I was like, okay, so what is the benefit? Well, I think I mentioned last time that there were that it slowed down and gave me the opportunity to do all these AI conferences, the webinars and stuff. Yeah, which I found super, super fascinating. But I had an interesting thing happen. So I started to go, okay, well, I'm going to step outside my comfort zone. I'm going to start offering things that I don't normally, I offer, but I don't normally put out there. Like if somebody goes to my website and finds it, fine. But, and I hadn't done tarot in a long time because I do other things, but I do tarot at a lower price point. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to throw this out there and just see who wants to pick up on it on Facebook. I was in the middle of still constructing with the help of AI, which Diana and I call, Jeeves, with the help of Jeeves. I'm in the middle of crafting this message I want to put out on Facebook. And all of a sudden I get this thing come across that somebody scheduled an appointment. And I'm like, nobody scheduled an appointment for like a week and a half. And all of a sudden here's an appointment. And I'm like, this is very cool. Wow. And it was literally just enough to cover one bill that I had. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. So then I finish, I'm like, okay, just do this. I finish my ad. I put it out on Facebook. And then all of a sudden, another reading comes up, like 2 in a day when I haven't had anything for a while. And I was like, what? And it was enough to pay the next bill. And I'm like, I'm getting the message. So
Yay.
apparently they're saying trust. We're going to take this down to the bottom line and teach you about trust, about what abundance is, that we've got your back. And so I have had readings now trickle in, not all at once. It's here and, it's like one day, then a couple of days goes by and then another. And it's always just enough to cover the next bill that's coming up in the next week. And I'm like going, okay, how much of this am I manifesting? Because we know that, but it's also the experience of trusting in the universe. And this is really a lesson that I need to step into. And so now I'm kind of, instead of being in a stressful place, I'm seeing the playfulness of the universe. And I'm just going, okay, what's going to happen next? I'm ready for the next thing to happen. It's just, so that's my flip side. I think it's so freaking cool. It's the universe plays around a lot with me.
I love it because we had a conversation just yesterday about, I don't know what's going on and my mind is always thinking, how can I help? How can I help? How can I help? And that's the whole point of us having this podcast. How can we help all of our viewers kind of find some of the things that we knew? And so this is new news to me. Like you telling me that these readings are coming in. Even we were talking about tarot yesterday and some ways that, that could be marketed or whatever. And then bam, that's so exciting.
So Diana and I talk all the time. So it's amazing. There's something that I forgot to share.
Totally.
But every once in a while it'll happen here. So very cool. Yeah, that was, I'm so grateful to experience that. It's just such a weird concept. And as time goes by, you guys, with Diana's blessing, I want to be able to mention a little bit more about what's going on kind of in the bigger picture of things, the flow of what's happening around us. It's just, there's so much going on. And these things that Diana and I share with you, which, we call it the positive path, these little nuggets that we want to share on this KISS podcast. It's meant to help you get to where we are and feeling and feeling confident about the world we live in, about enjoying the space that we're in, about being able to take the deep breaths and have a good time. And it helps us ultimately to weather some of these bigger things that are happening around us that people are going, you've got, what is it? The whole UFO stuff. And then you've got the whole, what's going on, with Biden, and then, the primaries, and then, Ukraine, so you got all these big worries. And yet we just apply these things that we want to share with y'all. And it just makes our lives just so much easier to cope with, and not just cope, but enjoy.
Yeah. And it helps you take a breath and think. It helps you. And I like the way you said, I'm so grateful for, because getting that, everything's all working out for me. I say it in my brain. I say it to people. I say it. So it's automatic for me. And you're looking for the good and what you're grateful for, and it becomes automatic for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're hoping that will kind of transfer, and for everybody, it'll kind of get, a little bit better, a little bit easier. And that's what it's all about.
Okay. So on this week's positive path, the positive path, I love that. We are going to talk about slowing it down. We got to slow it down. And there's a whole philosophy behind that. And Diana and I are going to riff on it and share with you what it's done for us, how we apply it and what we mean by slowing it down. Diana, you want to go?
Sure. So when I was a teacher, I'm retired now, so it's easier to slow it down when you're retired than, when you're teaching. But in the summertime, I would always try and regroup and take a breath and, figure it all out. But it's almost like society wants us to be so busy. And that's how you prove to the world that you are competent and that you are adding to society. And, I have to take care of the kids, and I have to take care of my husband. I have to take care of my job. I have to go to the grocery store. I have to do the laundry. I have to, all the things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so stressful, and it brings that level of stress up. So taking a breath and trying to bring it down a little bit and calm yourself. And I just saw you take a breath, and you have to remind yourself to breathe in and breathe out, because we're all in fight or flight, and the news does it.
A neighbor you just passed by.
Exactly. Or it starts raining and you just did your hair and you're trying to go to the doctor's appointment or whatever. Like everything, it just automatically brings you up into fight or flight. And that's where we live. Mm-hmm. And it's not a good place to live. It's not healthy. It's not good for our mental health, and it's not good for our physical health.
Let me just add to that is only in the developed nations. Having gone to Uganda, they're I want to say struggling every day for food, for shelter, for water, but struggling maybe isn't the right word, because that's just part of life. And if something doesn't happen in that moment, it's okay, because they know it's going to eventually happen. So you don't go racing down to somewhere. You just know, okay, this is going to happen. I'll get there. And I know I'm being very general about it, because there can be some very intense situations, but as a day-to-day philosophy, it's just, it'll work out. It's going to happen. So it's only in the frenetic pace of these, corporate global economies where everything's being showered down on us that it must be done now. And I think it's because of, the influence of advertising. It's to drive us a certain direction. Use this to save you time. Try this to, buy you 5 more minutes or whatever. It's just a constant boom, boom, boom.
Well, and one thing, we hadn't really talked about the fact that I'm going to talk about this, so I'm hoping you're okay with it. But for a couple of years now, I have not been watching the news. I just don't, because I start worrying, I start stressing, I trust, what can I do to solve this problem? Look at all the people that need help. Oh my gosh, can I help them? Blah, 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 blah. So I made it, even before I started slowing down everything else, that was one of the first steps that I took, was just not to watch the news every night, and to try, even when I'm online, not to get sucked into that clickbait of this is happening, that is happening. For me, my husband watches the news, and when something really important happens, he'll clue me in. And that's what I say to him. If there's something you think that if I talk to my friend and I don't know about it, I'm going to look stupid, please tell me, but don't give me all the details. I just need the surface level. So like when Roe versus Wade was the whole thing that went down with all of that, I wasn't watching the news, so I would not have known about that at all. And then one of my daughters was all hyped up about it, not the one I'm here, but the other one. And I was like, just stop worrying about it, because there's nothing you can do to change this right now. You're one person. Now, yes, in society, lots of people can come together and change some things, but in your little world right here, focus on what can you do? And that's what I try and do as much as possible.
Well, it's that idea of if you know, it's getting to know yourself. And if you are not, I am not the kind of person that goes and stands in front of people and leads the charge and makes signs. And, so I know I'm not that kind of person. So why would I wrap myself up in the tension and the misery and the whatever? Again, it's a distraction. It's an important concept. We're not saying anything negative about that. But it is a distraction from you leading what you can control around you. It's almost like this idea of, let's distract you here. Let's distract you. Like, let's pull you away from everything that is truly within your control, so that then you have no control. Does that make sense?
Right. And that's where that whole gratitude journal, well, when we did the weekend Wanderlust, and, we talked about us doing, focusing on gratitude, I guess. It's whatever you focus on. So if I take my energy and I focus it on politics, whatever, that's taking me away from the focus of being grateful for what's going on. And I think I talked before about my people. So the whole story about the flip side, I am where I need to be for my people, and I'm focusing my energy on my people, and I'm grateful that I'm able to do that. And I don't want to take that off by worrying about what's happening someplace other than right in front of me for the moment. So that's what helps me do the slowing down a little bit. So that's one thing that helps me and works for me. It doesn't work for everybody, but it does work for me.
Well, so what I do is, okay, let's understand that headlines are designed to draw you into whatever's going on. But I've learned to surf the headlines. Okay. But when I say this, I'm, again, from the spiritual point of view, I have gotten myself to the point where I feel like I live a very dual existence. I am in a very spiritual place. It's like I almost sit back and watch what humanity's doing. I'm a part of humanity, but there's also an aspect of me that sits back and observes and kind of goes, wow, look how these people are being driven to this, and look at the dynamics of that. And I find that all really fascinating. But then, there's that human aspect of myself. And that human aspect of myself can get really torn up by some of this stuff. So I've learned, as the human part of myself, just look over the headlines. If you feel like there's something that you have that nudge that you need to deep dive into something, deep dive into it, but maintain that spiritual aspect of, these are these people who are playing at this particular experience, like politicians, the whole political scene. That's a whole other world. Those people have come in, they desire to experience that. It is not something that is even remotely a part of my world. And so, yes, okay, I will vote and stuff like that. But but they are playing at that, and they are, however that's being controlled, however that's occurring, it's a separate aspect of me. And so I'm able to distance myself because of it. Otherwise, I think if I was just being totally all 100% human and reading the headlines, that's clickbait. And I would be like, wait, what's happening? Because usually when you read those and then you get into the article doesn't even reflect the headline.
Right.
But if you have like sources that tend to be very, they do like short tidbits, and they make it very matter of fact, then you can trust those kinds of headlines. But anyway, and yeah, my husband does the same thing. He watches the news, and if there's something I need to know, sometimes even when I don't need to know, he'll share it with me. So, and I just go and I watch him get wrapped up. And here's the thing, when you get into that wrapped up state that you can't do anything about it, right? How much of your day just got owned by that event that you can do nothing about? How many minutes did you just give away that were precious to you by being consumed by something that is beyond your control?
And it's a hard thing to do. I mean, it doesn't come naturally to most people, and it didn't come naturally to me. It was a process. But by choosing not to sit down at 6 o'clock or 6:30 and watch the news, and I do something else at that time. Sometimes I meditate, sometimes, I'm cooking dinner or whatever. But Samantha knows I don't really cook that much because I'm a good cook, but there's only two of us at home, and it's just hard to cook for two people, but whatever. I choose to spend that time in a different way that doesn't allow it to suck the minutes out of my life.
Well, you're actually, you're doing something that feels good, that
exactly
promotes a positive influence or expands your world.
Well, and that's what we all need to try and focus on. I mean, it like I said, it's a process. It's hard to do. It's hard to do at first, but it gets easier and easier. And as you get more and more comfortable with slowing down, thinking it's okay for me to relax a little bit. It's okay for me to breathe. It's okay for me to read a book. It's okay for me to color the cuss word coloring book. It's okay. All of those things are okay. And then that makes your life a little bit easier. And that's what we're all about here.
Say the word slow down again.
Slow down. Oh, because I was talking really, really fast.
No. Literally every time that you say slow down, I take a deeper breath and relax. Like it, because again, we have attuned ourselves to this. And so we're mindful of it. And we try to catch ourselves in that. And it's funny because when you're saying it, I'm like, oh yeah, slow down.
And you have to make, I'm a big Post-it note person. So, and I have Post-it notes everywhere. And I have one that says breathe. And when I glance over at it, I'm like, okay, wait a minute. And counting in 3, holding 3, counting out 4 or 5 or whatever, it just changes the way your body is reacting and your brain is reacting. And it's healthy. It's healthier.
It is. So, yeah, exactly. I was trying to think if there's anything else we wanted to bring up about this.
I'm sure that we'll revisit this as we go because it's
mindfulness.
It's so important. Mindfulness is so important, and tuning into the fact that you're stressed out. Most people don't do that, and they'll have a panic attack, or they'll have, anxiety over this or that or whatever. And for me, my first reaction is always breathe. Breathe with me. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And that will change. It counteracts that fight or flight, and it lets it slow down, and it lets your body just relax a little bit. And we all need to do that.
Oh yeah. Have you heard that that meme? I love it. I need to get like a t-shirt with this, but it's breathe in the good shit, breathe out the bullshit.
No, but I think that should be, we're going to make that as one of our, so, this is an evolving thing, this whole podcast, but I watch a lot of podcasts and they've got merch. That could be our first piece of merch, which is merchandise, but that's what the millennials call it, merch.
So we want merch. We want to offer merch.
Well, and our merch is going to be very irreverent, so just know it. And then if Samantha can find that meme, we will post that in the Facebook group. Yeah, make yourself a name.
So, we're women of a certain age. I always love that. Women of a certain age. And if we don't write it down, it never happened. We forget.
But let's remember that we look good, and that's all that matters.
Yes.
We don't look like we're women of the age that we really are. And I would love it if you all would guess how old we are, because you know that we're older than what we look in the Facebook. How old do you think we are? Now, know that we're both the same age.
So if you get one right,
year. So, I mean, we both look good. It's not one or the other. We both look good.
I love that. You're looking good today. Diana, you're just looking really good.
You too.
You're just going to pump each other up. That's what sisters are supposed to do, right?
Totally.
Okay. So there was, are we going to do the little?
Yes. So we figured something else that we want to do. And hopefully we're not insulting anyone with our curse words, but that's just who we are. So if it hurts your ears, then this might not be the place for you. But
so I found,
or you can la 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 when you think that we're going to be cursing. But anyway.
So this is one that I got for a bunch of family members. It's backwards, isn't it?
No, it's good.
My little bag of Sweary Affirmations. My little bag of Sweary Affirmations.
So affirmations are things that you can, say to yourself, and like that, everything is always working out for me. That's the biggest affirmation that I say to myself all day long. Sometimes I write it down, I tell other people or whatever, but these are fun because we pulled one out and we loved it. So we've decided that we're going to share them with you guys and hope that you'll love them as much as we do.
So there are all these little Sweary affirmations. So I am going to mix it up. Tell me when to stop, Diana.
Stop.
Okay. And I'm just going to spread it out and pick one. You guys ready for the Sweary affirmation of today?
I'm ready. I'm slowing down.
Meet with a friend and have a good bitch.
Love it. And we do that all the time. Love it.
You got it. Here's the thing. Nobody needs to sit around and complain, but you do need to vent. You need to get things out of your system so they're not in your system, so they're not taking up space in your head. So definitely. It's just one of those things. I love it.
And maybe we'll make a bitch fest segment. I don't know.
Hey everybody, welcome to the weekend Wanderlust edition of KISS.
Keep it simple, sister. So one of the things that both of us do when we want to try and kind of chill out a little bit, slow down, is we just sit for 15 minutes and do nothing. Literally like this. Well, you can smile if you want to. You can even sip on some tea or a drink or but the whole point of it is don't try and solve a problem. Don't make a plan. Don't worry about what happened to your daughter or your husband or your dog or your whatever.
Or what's going on in the world.
Right. It's just a little bit of time for yourself to breathe. And that's the most important thing. And we try and build it in several times a day. What we're asking you guys to do is just kind of parcel out 15 minutes sometime over the weekend. If you can do it more than one time, all right, but at least one time. Yep. Where you can just slow yourself down, relax a little bit, breathe, and chill.
You know, what's interesting about this exercise is that there's a lot of times where people just don't even realize that they're not giving themselves that time.
Right.
And I want to put that in the words of they're not honoring themselves enough to give themselves that time. They feel like they have to be productive every freaking minute of the day. And yet that 15 minutes, that you are just mindfulness, you're just in that space. And
And sometimes it's hard to slow your brain down. You kind of have to practice it a little bit. And especially as moms, I think moms more than dads or people who don't have children, you're so giving of your time and energy to everyone else except for yourself.
Mhm.
And you
So
deserve it.
exactly. So, this isn't meant for you to try to fit it in and be like, well, I'm eating for 15 minutes. It's one
Right.
thing to sit there with a cup of coffee or tea or even a glass of wine and just sit there and take in the surroundings around you. You might want to look around and see the things that you like about your space. But
And
don't allow yourself to get hooked like, oh, that crack in the, wall. I need to seal that. The
well,
moment
and
you
a
get
lot
to
of times I need to go somewhere else. So I know you go out on your patio and you look at the birds and listen to the birds and watch
lanai. I go out all
lanai, your lanai. But if I go into my office, which you don't, I will look at the thing and I'd be like, oh, well, maybe I should have moved that or this or that. So what you want to do is try and find a place where there's no problem to solve, where there's no issue, where there's nothing that will distract you. And nature, I find, is the best place to do that. So whether it be on your deck or your front porch, or you go just take a little walk. I mean,
Mhm. Well, yeah, we're not asking you to meditate during this time. We're asking you to just be selfish. And
yeah.
selfish is okay for this to be selfish. Just stop the world for 15 minutes and breathe.
And if you want to do it longer than 15 minutes, go for it. But we think that's a nice chunk of time to just chill your nervous system, basically, is what you're doing. You're just giving yourself a breather.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Release from all expectation, like what you're supposed to get out of it, what you're supposed to experience, for the most part, if it's 15 minutes that you decide to doodle, or like for me, I do like watching the birds and just listening to them. It's the feeling of, okay, it's that feeling of on a rainy day picking up a book. It's that feeling of taking a freshly dried, like it's a warm, comfy blanket and wrapping it around your body, and you just go, oh, it's
Yeah.
it's that feeling of self-indulgence. And that self-indulgence, it feels like a luxury, and it shouldn't, but it feels like a luxury because you're honoring yourself. You're taking time out. You're being selfish about your time, which is, again, that's a positive. You need to slow it down. What is it? You have to put the oxygen mask on you before you do, you're good for anyone else. And this is part of that.
Well, and so many of us are oxygen deprived. So many of us are so busy being busy that we're not breathing. We're not taking any time for ourselves. And you're no good to anybody else when you're a stressed out mama, or not even a mama, when you're stressed and stressed.
Well, and okay, so here's an idea that just came up, how people can integrate this into their weekend, depending on
Uh-huh.
what their life is like. So, yes, we know how we do it, but say you are one of those people, soccer mom type, whatever. You're
Right.
in the car, and when you are out running errands on the weekend, you take every moment. You got to make the phone calls. You gotta
Right.
have the conversations with the kids. You gotta that word, you gotta. So
Right.
instead, say you have a drive that's 10 to 15 minutes, where that That's 10 to 15 minutes solid time that you would normally be on the phone, catching up, making play dates, all that kind of stuff.
Or thinking about your list or making the list in your brain or whatever. Yeah.
So instead, take that 10 to 15 minutes to just breathe in that space. No phone, if you want to put on music, but don't do like an audio book that will distract you, because it's all about being in the present moment. So you can even do it, if you've got such a hectic lifestyle that you can't carve out 15 minutes of just sitting and relaxing, then do it in the car, because again, it's a shift from what is your normal, and our normal is very different than your normal. So if your normal is very hectic, just take it down a notch by doing it
When
that.
my kids were little, I used to go in the bathroom.
I used to
I
take
mean,
a
just shut the door, whether I had to go or not. I would go in the bathroom, shut the door, and give myself a minute. Now, when they're little, they come in the bathroom with you, but they got to a point where I was like, okay, if this door is shut, that means mommy needs a minute.
Yeah,
Leave me alone.
I love that. And mine was like, I would run a bath, and I would have a glass of wine with my bath,
Uh-huh.
and maybe light a few candles. But sometimes, I mean, like, to me, the most indulgent is in the middle of the afternoon, because who needs a bath in the middle of the afternoon? But it's amazing,
Yeah.
because you also, here's the spiritual woo woo part of it. You're living in this hectic day-to-day life, whatever, you got all this stuff going on. So when you get in the water, first off, you can't do anything else. You're in the water. Yes, you can get on the phone, but it limits your conversation and what
And you can electrocute yourself and ruin your phone.
yeah.
So leave the phone aside.
So when you're in the water, and add Epsom salts, but it allows the frenetic energy that's in your body, it allows that to dissipate. It's a cleanser. It's a grounding force in your body. So, it's kind of like boosts what you're trying to accomplish of this relaxation. And I find that I get tempted, like my thoughts will start going, and I get tempted to start reading a book or whatever. And the way I stop doing that is that I will just go under the water and hold my breath, and then I'll come back up. And then when I start feeling my mind going again, I'll go under the water again, because it's just that separation. You're not taking a nap, you're not, so it's not like you're avoiding, but it's just that you're teaching yourself to slow it down and
Right.
not do anything else. So that's why it's an idea.
Well, and when I was a little girl, I got a UTI from Mr. Bubble. And so I have never taken bath. I mean, too much information, but it did happen. So I've been like bath averse to bathing, but not in a bathtub. But I get the same kind of feeling if I just get in the shower, and not necessarily to shave my legs or wash my hair or whatever, just stand under the water and let the water rush over you.
Mm-hmm.
And I know metaphysically that does a whole lot of whatever, but for me, all I know is I feel better when there's water.
Yeah.
And also, if you have kind of like a little anxiety thing, if you just go wash your hands and run your hands underwater. I learned this from Samantha, because we were talking about anxiety. But if you're depressed or if you're anxious, step number one is get some water on you, in you, around you, whatever. So I think that's a really good suggestion.
Mm-hmm. So, do you think that's it? That's a couple of really good ideas of how you can integrate it, giving you a better understanding. We're not asking you to meditate. We're asking you to just slow it down. Almost like I bleeped myself.
Yeah.
But literally, like Diana was saying, breathe, just breathe. And this is going to be a fun one. So what we want you to do is integrate this into your weekend, and then come to our Facebook group, which is the KISS podcast. We'll put the link below, of course. So come to the group and share what your experience was, how it went. Do you have any questions, any suggestions?
Well, and I would also love to hear, suggestions, like what ways have you found to slow it down that I haven't even thought of yet?
Oh, yeah.
That would be cool.
Mm-hmm. And that will help other people as well. So again, the whole idea behind what we're doing, it's this sisterhood of things, the synergy of us all collaborating on these ideas. Yes, we're giving you ideas of things that have worked for us. And in this group, when you are sharing with us, we're learning just as much. That's the
Right.
beauty of this. We are not, the mentors or whatever. We're simply facilitating a group to
A
move
community, a
help it-
community of simple sisters.
Yep, simple sisters. But to move towards a space where we're happier in our lives, where we're healthier, where we feel better, through whatever means that we can come up with, what has worked for us and so forth. So anyway, give it a go.
Yeah.
And
I think we got to wrap it up because we got to keep it simple, sister.
Yep. So this is the wrap up of the weekend Wanderlust. You guys have a great time with it.
Bye. See you next
Bye.
time.